Super Tournament, Season 1.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Day 3 of the GSL Super Tournament. This tournament has been kick-ass so far. Fantastic games, all best of 5s, except for, of course, the finals, which will be a best of 7. Today, we knock off the round of 8.
Yes, the round of 8 will be completely done today, and it's just going to be better than what we've seen so far. It's amazing. Look at this. TVP, ZVZ, TVP, ZVP. It's like everything you could ever want.
Yeah, we're going to start things off with Maru versus Classic. We do have a brief interview we're going to conduct with our two players and see what their thoughts are. This is a tougher match, by the way, to call right off the bat.
Yeah,
I think it really could go either way. Classic really seems to be at a very different level. Maru, of course, also has radically changed his Terran. I would say radically refined instead of changed.
Yeah. Well, Maru is just looking like the best player in the world right now. But the thing is, like, Classic can beat him, and he might beat him. But if he does, I'm looking at this, man. It feels to me like this could be Dark's tournament if Maru doesn't get through.
시즌 1의 우승자 조성주 선수입니다. 안녕하세요.
Okay, let's meet our two players here.
네.
Hello, Maru. Hello.
우승을 하고 이렇게 휴식 없이 바로 슈퍼 토너먼트 하고 계시는데요.
You've won a
감기
GSL
몸살은
title,
어떠세요?
Codes champion. There's been no breaks, though. Now you're back in the Super Tournament. How are you feeling? What's your condition like?
걱정이 많네요.
I would say better than yesterday, but not great still. I'm a little bit worried about it.
너무 힘들어요.
You're looking a little bit ill.
아픈 것
Yeah, I've
같은데
been feeling a little bit under the weather.
오늘 이 조성주 선수의 기세가 꺾일 것이라고 보는 분들이 많은 게 좀 이 전적이
A lot of
안
people
좋은
have,
김도우 선수를 만나게 됐거든요.
The expectation that Classic should be able to stop you, Maru. When we look at your past
김도우
record,
선수가 조금 다른 선수들과 다릅니까?
you've actually lost 5 games in a row against Classic.
있어가지고 그런 것 같아요.
Yeah, Classic's a different Protoss than the Protosses.
아니 그래도
Somehow I feel a
김도우
little
선수에게 졌다고
intimidated by him.
하지만 그 이후에 사파와 정파로 대표되는 이 김유진 선수와 김대엽 선수를 꺾었잖아요. 이 3개월 전에 나와 지금은
But
다르지
you've also
않습니까?
defeated world-class Protosses in the past. Both Stats and SOS fell to
지금은
you.
똑같은 것 같아요.
똑같은 것 같다.
Yeah, maybe it'll be a little
오늘
bit different than
큰일
before.
났네요.
But I think
알겠습니다.
today,
그럼 마지막으로
with my
오늘 경기
condition,
각오 들어볼게요.
이렇게
I think I'm like old Maru.
아프지만 열심히 해서
What are your thoughts before you start this match? Even if I'm sick today, I'm going to do my best to win.
네. 오늘 경기 기대하겠습니다.
감사합니다.
All right, good luck. Thank you for the
이
interview.
인터뷰를 들은 만큼 김도우 선수가 흡족해하고 계실 것 같은데요. 바로 만나보겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
Okay, let's go to Classic. Hello, Classic.
네,
Hello.
자, 슈퍼 토너먼트로 오랜만에 뵙습니다. 오늘 김도우 선수는 컨디션 어떠세요?
How are you feeling today, Classic?
성주에는 좀 나쁜 것 같아가지고
Not bad.
기분이 좋네요.
When I look at Maru, he's not looking too good. That makes
더
me feel
좋은
a
건
little bit
지금
better.
상대 전적도 좋습니다. 아니 그렇게 무서워하는 조성주 선수인데
So let's talk about that win rate against
김도우
Maru. It's
선수는
been very
두렵지
good.
않습니까?
People are
여태 많이
generally
이기긴
pretty scared of Maru, though.
했지만
How do you feel about it?
요새 기세가 너무 좋아가지고
Oh, I beat him several
오늘은
times in
좀
the past.
네.
But
그래도
since tomorrow,
나와
who's been winning the
경기할 때와는 좀
GSL?
다르거든요.
Uh,
김유진과
I
김대엽을
should be
꺾을
careful.
만큼 많이 준비하고 또 성장한 모습입니다. 그렇게 우승을 하는 모습 보면서 어떤 생각을 하셨어요?
Maru's been improving a lot.
그냥 경기
He's been taking
보면서
out
되게
stats and
잘한다고
SOS. What are your thoughts on that?
그래도 제가 테란전은 그 둘보다 잘하지 않나 해서
Yeah, he's been really proven a lot, but
경기를 해보면
I think in PVT as a
어떤지 알것
matchup,
같아서
I'm just
원래
better
경기를
than
해보고 싶어요.
those other Protosses, SOS and stats.
테란전에 강한 만큼 자신감 있는
So I'm
답변이었던
gonna
것
show them
같습니다.
who's really the better
그럼
Protoss player.
오늘 경기 마지막으로 각오 들어볼게요.
성주랑 경기를 하면
What are your
되게
determinations
재밌는
for this
게임이
match
많이
today?
나오는데 오늘 또 좀 재밌는 게임이 나왔어요.
Whenever I face Maru,
제가
there's always
승리를
interesting
거두게
games.
네,
So today,
알겠습니다. 오늘 경기
I
기대하겠습니다.
expect to show some fun
감사합니다.
games for everybody who's watching.
네, 과연
Okay,
김도우
thank you,
선수가
Mario.
조성주 선수의
Classic, excuse me.
기세를 꺾을 수 있을까요? 그럼 8강
Alright, that does it for the
2경기
interview.
만나봤습니다.
Sick, man. We're halfway through.
Yeah.
4 best of 5s today. And of course, tomorrow, guys, if you're joining us now, come same time, 24 hours from now, we'll be doing the Final 4 as well as the finals, which is a best of 7.
Yeah, and that'll be great as well. Very excited for the matches today, though. All of them look like they could go one way or another.
Yeah.
What do you think about this first one, though? Maru versus Classic. Who wins this one?
I feel that Classic, Maru's improved on what he was already doing before. I feel like Classic has had a total revamp of the way he's approached Protoss versus Protoss and Protoss versus Terran. So, maybe I'm leaning a little bit towards Classic, but it's also a situation where if Maru actually wins, I don't think I'm supposed to be that surprised at all. The fact that Maru's been such a dominant force. I was actually unaware that Maru was feeling a little bit under the weather yesterday, and I guess he's still recovering from that. This is a rough tournament to play in if you're not feeling that great.
Yeah, well, that's not going to turn out very well. But he looked very good a couple days ago when he played his actual match there against Sue. That was really well done. What do you think about True versus Dark?
True versus Dark, I think True's really, really good. I'm probably going to be in the majority vote here saying I think Dark's supposed to advance, but it's very possible that True makes an upset. However, I don't see True as somebody who actually wins the Super Tournament, so if True does advance, I think that reshapes the way we're going to view this side of the bracket tremendously.
Yeah, it would be really surprising, but it's CVZ, and I mean, the way that he plays with Lings, Roaches, Banelings, that type of thing, those upsets can occur. For sure. So
it's a volatile matchup. Obviously, it's nowhere near as bad as Brood War in volatility, but it's a matchup where, ZVZ, and also True is good at ZVZ as well.
He's good.
So there might be an upset there. If Dark moves on, I think he's a serious threat to go all the way to the finals.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's going to be Classic versus Maru. I will say, as long as Maru can navigate a lot of the mind games that Classic is going to throw out here, perhaps in a standard TVP, Maru comes out on top. Do you think that's fair to say?
No, I disagree,
Really?
actually. Classic, in my opinion, has like the most complete PVT that there is. He's very good at defensive play. He's very good at aggressive play. He uses every type of strategy. He adapts very well. Like he's always he knows how to PVT, and you can look back for years, not just like right now. And he is in great shape right now. Like he has kind of leveled himself up here once again. He's really looking for another championship. But I think that he is like extremely, extremely strong in this match. He's always been one of the Protosses that I personally really study a lot and try to take a lot from. And based on how Maru's playing, and he's really good. He just beat stats and stuff. But that just kind of means that there's a lot of games for Classic to study from Maru, right? And I think
that's true. He's got a lot of data out there.
Yeah, I think he can. The thing is, Maru brought his absolute best against stats. Even if Stats didn't play the greatest finals ever against Maru, just the fact that he saw what Maru wants to do. Classic will actually have a plan for everything, and he'll keep all of this in mind. And it's not like Maru could have revamped it all yesterday.
I see what you're saying. I guess the way that I was looking at it was that Classic is still a deceptive Protoss. He's not someone who totally relies on that. I think he's quite mapped out in a lot of the ways he starts and finishes games.
Okay.
But I feel like the fact that Maru has gotten so good, I almost want to say he looks better than TY or Innovation as they move out on the map and begin to control things as he does, that I'm wondering if, because like I said, I feel like Classic's done a lot of revamping, whereas Maru is just built upon what he already had, and I'm wondering if maybe, as good as Classic is, in fact, it's going to be Maru that just outmaneuvers the Protoss, especially in late game. Remember old Maru? He would have Marines and Mirage, he'd be moving around, attacking different parts of the map, and then he'd, boom, pick up and fly into the main. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was a couple of years ago that this was more common, but I think now he's gotten to a much more complex approach to out-positioning, especially Protoss players and Zerg players. So I'm wondering maybe if he can do that there. I don't disagree with you that Classic is he covers all the bases. He's not like a hero over here where he's got a lot of timing attacks and he has these kind of crazy strategies that he always pulls off, even if we know he's going to try something like that. But he's also not a stats where he just defends.
Okay, and this is
he's
why
definitely kind of both of those worlds.
Here's why Classic is so good, and especially in this matchup, is because like right now you're really struggling to put him in a box.
Exactly.
And that's why he's so good. Okay, think about that.
He's hard to define.
Yeah, some of these other players are easy to define.
Even players who have had more success historically, like SOS, we can define them fairly well.
Yeah, and the thing is, SOS, sure, he's all over the place and stuff, but there's like some very key things about him.
Yeah.
Whereas with Classic, it's hard to describe him because he is a truly like complete Protoss. And there's a few Protoss that are like that, and the thing is everyone has like super strengths, and this might mean that he's not the best in a certain way, but like Maru has kind of become like this as well. Like for instance, let's let's just peel this apart. We have a little bit of time.
Sure.
If you look at the 4 horsemen of Terran, right, you have Bjorn over here, right? He's not the most strategic, but he's got the best micro.
Most
He's
intense,
super aggressive.
Tactics and micro.
And then over here you got innovation, right? And it's like, well, he has a variety of strategies, but he's kind of a little bit predictable, unbelievably good mechanics. The follow through is there, right? Just pure power. And then you got like TY, who's kind of, closer to innovation, I guess, right? You don't really think about his micro as much, but he's more a strategic player, more a tactical player. And then you have Maru, and Maru was somewhere in between all 3 of these guys, right? Like, he has good mechanics.
Yeah.
He has better micro than mechanics, so he's kind of closer to Bjorn in that way. But he's also more strategic and tactical like TY, but not to TY's level. But now Maru has kind of expanded. If we made one of those like little pentagon graphs or whatever.
Pentagram. The mark of the
we made a
beast.
pentagram and summoned back Nesty.
Yes.
But no, Maru has kind of filled in a lot of his play, right? So he's become a bit harder to define.
Sure.
And the same thing kind of be said about Classic, where it's like, well, his micro isn't as good as Heroes, and his defense isn't really as good as Stats. And his mind games are really good. They're not SOS level, but like he's got everything.
He's not at 10s on every stat. He's at 9s.
Yeah, something like that.
So I mean, you get someone like Hero where like the control is so good that he makes it work. He wills the victory.
Yeah.
Classic, we've seen him do that. Maybe not quite as well as Hero. The defense stat seems to hold up virtually anything and everything.
But then sometimes he sits in his base too long trying to defend.
Exactly, where Classic doesn't do that. So I see what you're saying. I think it's also worth pointing out, I don't know if Maru has a lot of wonky aggro builds or all-ins or cheeses that are going to work against Classic.
Well, certainly not because
he may be forced to play the defense game. That's partially the players that we have here today. That's partially the matchup itself and how it's operating.
Well, again, I think that part of this is he just played Stats and he had to show his absolute tip-top strats that he thought would do the best, and that went 6 games deep. So that's 6 games of Maru doing his absolute best on many of the same maps. So Classic just has boatloads of information, plus this kind of harder to find style. He has a better idea of what Maru is likely to do to him than Maru has of what Classic will do to him.
The other matchups we have here, Dark versus True, that should be pretty interesting. Now, if True advances there, I think he is the least likely out of the 8 players that we're looking at now to make it to the finals. Now, of course, if he does do that, and we have had players who actually succeed in the Super Tournament where they don't succeed in the GSL Contest, that'll be a total moment where we alter our views on where he's at and what kind of player he is.
Well, the one way I could see it happening, right, like he could upset Dark. And then if it's him versus Classic, he might be able to make something happen there. Again, like he is the underdog. He's the dark horse of this tournament.
Sure.
But there are chances. If Maru advances, though, I mean, he smashed Sue. He's beaten Dark multiple times. We don't look at True's ZBT as being that level. So definitely a tough one there.
Innovation versus Hero. I am very excited to see that one because I think Hero can definitely give Innovation a run for his money. Great Innovation already took out Rogue. I think Rogue tried to, in some ways, counter the style that Innovation had, and Innovation shifted gears beautifully in that series. But with Hero, Hero's greatest strength is taking the initiative early on in the game. A lot of times, whatever you had in store for your opponent, whatever builds or strategies you had mapped out, they don't really matter because Hero's already activated the strategy he wants to use. And so it's going to be fun to see how Innovation tries to manage that. And finally, Solar with Stats, which I'm actually expecting to be the longest series that we have here.
Yeah, I think you're right. It will be the longest
I think it's going to be Stats being passive and Solar being really smart and trying to play around the passivity. I might be wrong, but rather than trying to do some kind of timing attack or maybe even playing an ordinary late game there in that ZVP.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have a good idea of what he should be doing against Stats. I think that you go Hydraling Bane against Stats. Like, obviously, you make sure that he's not going to kill you with just, like, charge lots or something, one of those very sharp timings. But I think Solar will have a good plan, and I think it will involve like high economy Hydraling Bane and like kind of like nailing stats when he tries to tech switch. But I mean I think that's a great series. And back to the Innovation Hero just real quick. I actually think Hero's a bit favored there. I think
so too.
Yeah.
I feel like
his style's
some
very
people
good
might be
here.
yelling at their monitors hearing us say that, but I mean, we've seen Hero really kill it in this tournament specifically. He's somebody in the past, before we had tournaments like this one, I assumed that he just planned very well for a GSL match and always knew what builds to pull out. He actually just seems to always have a lot of different strats and builds on available at any point in time. He seems to be the player that might have the most builds in StarCraft 2. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Because the one thing about Hero 2 is he can play a normal game, but God, he has very, very specific openers that play around a lot of the normal stuff that we see from these players. And it's not like SOS, which I do feel is similar to Heroes in appearance, but seems to be a lot more step-by-step. He kind of makes a few moves and then analyzes everything he sees.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay,
I generally agree with what you're saying
Hero
there.
basically executes something perfectly from start to finish. And as long as he does everything correct, he ekes out that win every time.
Yeah.
And usually when he wins those games, like when he practices it, it looks the same every time too.
I basically agree with what you've said there, especially in regards to SOS and the way that he seems to approach it, where it's like, nothing's written in stone here.
Yeah. He can have the build perfectly mapped out, and he sees, he maybe got 2 extra medevacs in some weird attack, and he says, okay, then there's actually a completely other route.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this, where if Hero just keeps controlling well overall, he'll pull through. So one of our players, I guess there's a problem with the computer. They should have this fixed momentarily, but we're basically killing time up here.
You see those refs right down there trying to figure that out.
Right here.
Right there, yeah. Like,
So,
oh, God.
Which
Fix it.
player's computer
Fix
is that?
it.
So
Fix
that
it.
looks like it's a Classics computer. Usually what we do is we have backup computers on site. We have a whole bunch of extra gear here. This is one of the first times we've had a little hiccup here at the studio in a while. But I'm pretty confident we'll get this sorted out shortly here. As we're the best here at GSL. I love working in this studio, man. Things are so streamlined. It's crazy.
This is the worst time to say that, but yeah.
No, but I mean, I'm confident that they'll have it sorted out momentarily here. We will be hopping back into this. But, guys, do get out there and spread the word about the Super Tournament. Tell people that this is going on. There's actually been so much StarCraft 2 that's been happening. I think some of this got kind of brushed under the rug.
Yeah.
With, there's Nation Wars. We just had the StarCraft Remastered, not StarCraft Remastered, StarCraft 20-year anniversary that happened. GSL Codes Finals. We weren't even able to be there for that because there was so much StarCraft going on.
Yeah. ASL is going on. And, there's just tons of stuff happening.
You basically have StarCraft you can watch every day.
Yeah.
But if you're not watching this StarCraft, you are missing out because this has been.
GSL is just the best. That's all there is to it.
That's right. What do you think the score is going to be for this match when we go into this?
Oh, the Maru Classic?
I think it's going to be 3-2 Maru.
I think it's going to be 3-1 Classic.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I think.
No matter what, I think the games are going to be pretty sick. I
got to say, I'm still surprised at Rogue's series against Innovation. Like, not as surprised as I was yesterday. I thought about it more and stuff, but like, I'm really sad because I wanted to predict him winning again and have him win again and just keep calling him Bones Run, make people angry, but he lost.
Well,
so here we are.
Rogue seems to go through very odd growth spurts in his play that look like he's falling off, but he's probably actually coming up with something that is so advanced, but he still hasn't mapped it out yet. I mean, I remember casting Rogue in Pro League where he had some of the best games we have ever seen. He just looked so dominant and so unstoppable, and then he'd have a really weird-looking game.
Yeah.
And I think that Innovation Series was indicative of that. I think if we continue to see him win more and more tournaments, we can knock this one off as a fluke. Yeah. Because it's crazy to say, but he's winning more tournaments than he's losing in tournaments.
Yeah.
Right now.
It's just a wild thing.
Which is a bizarre thing to say about anybody in any sport or esport you'll ever see, is that that they're actually generally just winning everything they're in.
Yeah, it becomes very hard because there's like this fine line within StarCraft and really within anything in life where you have to like stay stable, right, to do well. But if you become too formulaic and you aren't being like creative and changing what you're doing some and flowing with how things are going a little bit, you become too predictable. The game will get away from you. You can't just have an equation, have everything written down like these are all the branches. Like that'll work for a little bit, but then the metagame starts shifting and people catch on that like, oh, he does this when I do this, so therefore I can change in this way, and he'll be reacting to the old way that the game was played.
Yeah, you really got to have your ear to the ground of the meta.
And of course, it's very important to know all these branches and stuff, and that's definitely something that many of the top pro gamers are very good at, especially Rogue. But yeah, I don't know. It's part of that thing where it's like you can win a bunch of terms, then you also have like these flukes that pop up where it's like, oh, that just kind of got me. Or
to Innovation's credit, too, it seemed like he had a style that made Rogue a little bit scared and more defensive, so that because Rogue is basically unstoppable in the late game.
Yeah.
But it seems like Innovation had a little bit of an altered approach that made Rogue more nervous about just pushes
didn't let him get there at all.
And then in one game, I think it was game 1, he didn't even really push that hard, so Rogue just had a bunk unit composition that doesn't really do that much. And kudos to Innovation, someone who's known for, generally speaking, just having dominant pushes in late game. I think really approaching Rogue intelligently. And Innovation's somebody we're not really talking about as much in this tournament, but he's someone we're generally talking about all the time. He's really scary, and even when it looks like he's going to fall off, he's right back.
Yeah.
He's been one of the most consistent StarCraft 2 players, especially in modern StarCraft 2, we've ever had.
Yeah, since the beginning of Heart of the Swarm, really, it's been Innovation Maru leading the charge for most of the time.
Yeah.
For the Terran race.
And there's a chance that we're talking about Maru a lot right now because he's been so dominant as of late. And basically, Maru is just dominating whenever Rogue doesn't have the chance to. But the fact of the matter is that it might be Innovation we're talking about in the finals of this tournament, and we're back to square one where it's, once again, Innovation always killing it.
Normally, it's Innovation doing what Rogue is doing now. Like, last year, how many tournaments did he win? He won, like, 4 big tournaments in Korea.
I think so.
So it's like, it's just that in the last 5 or 6 tournaments, Innovation didn't win any of them. So we're kind of like, he's washed up, like, who knows, whatever.
Fair weather fans.
Yeah, but the thing is, the reality of the situation is he is normally the person we look to as the best player in the world.
Yeah.
And he might just straight up win Super Tournament. We're like, oh, yeah. Like, we forgot about that. Like, yeah, of course, he's got to get in 3 or 4 tournament wins this year in Korea. So, like, he's got to start picking them up at some point.
His job quota right now is how many. He's got to get enough of those wins for sure.
It'll be weird if we go 5 years from now and Innovation doesn't have like a world championship.
Yeah.
He's just someone where it's like, well, he eventually needs to be the world champion.
Yeah, but man, we've had a lot of these players where like this is sort of a theme, is they're always really, really good. You're still waiting for SOS to win a GSL Codas, stuff like that.
Well, he made 2 finals. Innovation stopped him in one of them.
That's right.
Yeah, beyond in the other, of course, that was an epic one.
But yeah, I mean, there's some of these players we've definitely been watching. I think SOS has had enough global success that it's forgivable.
Yeah.
Not winning a GSL Codas. He's won enough other things, and he's also placed deep enough in a Codas.
I mean, 2 finals is no laughing matter, and of course, he could win any one of them coming up. He's always doing well.
And then you have Classic, who seems to be scarier and scarier. There was a period where he was the best player, becoming a champion previously. But
GSL champ, SSL champ,
he got benched, not benched. He got overshadowed by a lot of these other good Protoss players. But it seems like the way he's playing now is pretty damn scary. And maybe this is going to be this next iteration of Classic is going to be the one that we're...
Yeah, he's been really frustrated lately, too. I mean, look at his Katowice results. He has a couple BlizzCon top 4s, although not last year. Getting top 4 WESG. He's going high in GSL all the time.
Right. It's crazy how much you don't quite remember the top 4 compared to the finalists.
Oh, of course. It's always the case. And in fact, even second place can be kind of tough. Who lost to Ro.8 when Ro.8 won the championship, Tasteless?
Sniper?
No, that's a good guess, though. Sniper's actually champion.
We were actually there.
Don't you ever talk down about Sniper.
Ro.8 was versus... no? Who was it? Just tell me.
Symbol.
God.
Yeah.
We've done so many...
it's hard to remember the second place guys.
We're the ones that cast it, and it's even hard for us. There's so many finals we've gone through. It's crazy.
Who lost to Sniper, then? That's a hard one to remember, too, isn't it?
Sniper is the one who... Did he... No. Was Sniper, he won in Vegas, or was
Yes.
that Ro.8? Okay, so
He
we
won
were in
in
Las
Vegas.
Vegas there. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think it was Hyun, wasn't it? I remember the top 4 had Sniper, Hyun, Gumi,
Ro.8,
and...
Sniper, Hyun, and
No, Ro.8 was not that top 4. That
Ro.8.
was a different
No,
one.
but I'm just saying some of these players are the ones that are less memorable.
No, they
I think
are.
Two,
They are.
two, not just me, but just in general, a lot of the viewers.
Do you remember who lost to Seed?
MC.
Yeah, there you go. Now that's a second place you can really sink your teeth into, MC.
Damn right. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So, what is it? How many super tournaments have we done now? Is this the third one? We started this
so
last year, right?
It is the third, but we had a tournament called Super Tournament, if I'm not mistaken. The first year of StarCraft that Polt won. It was a big 64-man tournament. Do you remember this? TVT
That's
finals
right.
outside?
We called that super tournament, then we took that brand and kind of stuck it on this.
Because it's such a great thing to name a tournament, because you're like, this isn't just tournament. This is super tournament. But yeah,
that's how we
it was,
distinguish it from these other tournaments.
It couldn't be more different than what this is, because it was like 4 times as many players and like best of 1 or best of 3 to start. It was just like not good compared to this.
There was a period in esports early on, right when StarCraft 2 came out, where everybody thought that more was better. It was like, we need more streams of the tournament. We need more players in the tournament. We need more.
4 streams.
And then I think the reality of just, okay, are you going to make a good television show? Are you going to make something that someone can actually sit on their couch and watch and not have to be like clicking through tabs and opening up, brackets everywhere? And now we've broken it down to, let's have really, really good players in longer games, better produced. And I think it's more consumable and palatable to the viewer.
Yeah, I think so. I like the single storylines more than multiple streams.
Sure.
Same. The player inside me does like multiple streams because I can really check out like every game.
And it depends on what you're trying to get, right? If you're just trying to get builds and help yourself, then that might be more handy. But, even for me, if I have a tournament on in my house, the game's ready. Yes!
What?
No
that
more
was
build.
only 27 minutes. That was easy. Please.
Just to finish that thought up, though, I mean, even for me, if I have a stream on in my house, I want to make sure that I would like to have something where I get generally the best games just delivered to me, and I can still do things in my house while it's playing.
Totally. And really, nowadays, I really like that basically all the WCS tournaments, they release replay packs so quickly afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if you miss some games or something.
That's the way it should be done. Release the replay packs.
Yeah.
Let everybody who wants to learn, they can start breaking that down. The people that want to have a good show, consume the best games, and not feel like they're left out if they don't know every player in a tournament, we can do that. That's what we're doing now.
Well,
Maru looking pretty good despite being apparently sick. We have our Protoss Player Classic now joining the game. Whatever the issue was with his PC has been resolved. We do apologize for the delay. I promise you, one of the only delays you will see at the studio in some time. We're usually pretty on top of it, but we got that fixed. Actually, I would say in a pretty impressive
that's fine.
period. No, not even a commercial break needed.
Yeah.
See, I'm turning this snap-in we had in the studio into a compliment.
I think it was better that way. You and I got to just chat about StarCraft for a bit. And now that we've talked about StarCraft a whole lot, when this game starts, we should probably just deviate and not talk about it until something dies.
Well, that's the formula we've been following for some time, Artosis.
I know.
Okay. Again, guys, this is a best of 5. I know we have some new people tuning in here who might not have been aware that the Super Tournament is already halfway through. This is day 3 of a total of 4 days of this tournament. There is no group stage. There is no redemption if you lose a series. So, Maru Classic, a best of 5. The winner is going to go to the Final 4, which will be settled tomorrow along with the grand finals of the Super Tournament, so don't miss out. But this is definitely one of the most exciting matches we have lined up for us today, possibly in the whole tournament. And I think it's a tough one to call.
It certainly is. Classic. He really wants to pick up a tournament win. I would not be sad at all if he takes this tournament down, because you can see how hard he's training. He gets a lot of respect from the other players, too, that he's a workhorse.
Right.
He's a bit older than a lot of these other pros as well. And, that kind of, like, impresses them even more when sometimes you hear from them in interviews, like, yeah, man, Classic is, he's kind of motivating me, the amount he's trying and how hard he's working to stay at this level. And, with all these runner-up matches and top 4s that he's getting, in a long time since his last championship, He's due this year, man, if he keeps this up, and I don't think there's any stopping him either.
So one thing you learn from StarCraft is that hard work pays off.
Truly.
Discipline pays off. And I agree. You know, the word on the street is the skinny is. He's been grinding hard. He's looking good. And he is primed and ready to become a champion again here. Our first map is going to be Blackpink. That has now loaded up. And so we will finally, after that long delay, begin game number 1, Maru versus Classic in this best of 5.
GSL SuperTournament, Season 1, Round of 8, Match 1. Jin Air Green Wings, Maru. Classic.
Very excited to see how Classic wants to play this. All right, with all the information that he has about Maru, how is he going to approach PvT right now? Because he's shown such a wide range. I know we've already talked about that a little bit, but it's just, again, he's one of these players that I really, really study and learn a lot from, especially in this matchup over other ones. I feel like his PvT and PvP are always super top tier, and then his PvZs he struggles with a little bit more. That's probably most Protosses, though, since Hydra Bane came around.
Yeah, Hydra Bane is tricky to deal with because the amount of damage that comes out just all at once.
Yeah.
It kind of exploits the fact that Protoss has a bunch of cool abilities, but they're not going to get to use them all right away if they don't do it perfectly. Some cool artwork there.
Yeah. Raven and Marine against Colossus. And they're just stepping on a Widowmine. No! It's a pretty accurate depiction, I think.
Yeah. Is that what your games look like? Stepping on Widowmines?
Not in the Widowmine part, no. I don't really make Colossus right now.
So we have the first Reaper coming out. Now, as you know, we do talk about it, it's important to mention it because best of 5s really are very different than like a best of 1 or best of 3. Every game you're revealing a little bit more about your play style, so especially the first build that you open up with is very important. Now we do have a probe hidden at the very bottom here. I'm curious to see if that's just going to be hidden in Scout later, if he's going to try to hide something.
I think he's hiding something, to be honest. He chrono boosted Warp Gate, which is not a common opening at all in this matchup. That was cute. Good turnaround by Maru. But I don't know. That just kind of interests me as to what his build might be. And of course, he's not chroning it while this Reaper's in here. And the Reaper's not really going to find anything. You know, by now you'll generally see some sort of other tech.
Wow, this Reaper's just not quite dying. So, yeah, let's see if he does decide to chrono anything else out that's abnormal. Now, that's all he saw. There's 2 more gateways coming down now. He's doing another chrono there on the Warp Gate. And I think this probe is going to head up to the north here and possibly hide a pylon?
Yeah, I think he is going to throw out a pylon. Like, you don't go 3 gate and take an expand. Yeah. And the thing is, Maru kind of feels this too. He was in there, he sees 2 adepts, he doesn't see anything else.
In a perfect world for the Protoss, he would have killed the Reaper before it got in.
Yeah.
So that's definitely annoying.
And that was his misstep too.
Yeah, he tried to do some fancy footwork with the Adept Shade, and it did not quite work out. But now we see a bunker set up here. There's about a total of 5 Marines here, 2 inside the bunker to try to help defend. And Maru's going to have to be ready. Some Adept shading forward here. He's trying to get an idea. Anything that might telegraph more of what the defense is going to be here from Maru.
He's making 3 Stalkers. I mean, we've seen some of these 3-gate pressure type plays occasionally. Like, he might do this. He might, like, bring up the Stalkers and start poking that bunker's not perfectly placed. And as anything comes out, 3 Adepts will one-shot Marines, SCVs, whatever. But with the Cyclone, it kind of messes up the math again, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think a good call here of getting the Cyclone out. Cyclone makes it a little bit tricky. As long as he doesn't overextend with that and end up losing it. Now with a medevac, it's going to be, especially against Stalker and Adept projectiles, it should be easier for him to juggle out of it. So This seems to be a bit more of a pressure build situation. Not quite doing that much damage at all. Really, I guess he really only interrupted some mining for a second there from Maru.
Yeah.
Which is almost inconsequential.
If there wasn't a Cyclone, that would have been definitely more difficult.
Yeah.
But, you know, of course there's going to be something out of that factory.
So there's a tank coming up here next, which will make pressure, just obsolete. But the Warp Prism coming up can offer a new angle to try to come in here and attack. And this is sort of a special forces set up here for Maru. He has a few very specific units that are going to be able to help, like the Cyclone, the Raven. There's a tank coming. And maybe if he drops in here and does a warp in, some of the wrong units can be caught in the wrong spot, or the right units in the wrong spot, I guess is a better way to say that. Eating that Widow Mine hit there, he's now going to be able to take out the Widow Mine. So it's just these Adepts. Now, again, with the he's got to be careful because of just 1 or 2 Cyclone shots there, and he can actually kill that Warp Prism. It is acceptable to let the Warp Prism eat the Widow Mine hit, as long as you keep it alive. And so Maru's actually in a hot pursuit right now.
Yeah.
Hoping that he can just get the snipe off on that.
In the meantime, at home, Classic, he's pretty safe. He's just going Colossus. You know, no forges quite yet. Really just focusing on getting out that splash damage, going into Twilight next. I'm sure once his probe saturation gets up a little bit higher, we'll see that double forge add. But at the moment, he's just trying to make sure he has enough units that nothing can really go wrong. You know, he's been trying to keep on pressure. The pressure hasn't done anything, but that's okay. Just keeping Maru completely at home allows Classic to do as he will.
So Blink is on the way here. Thermal Lance. Kind of a calm before the storm here. Not really a situation where anybody can actually full-on attack into each other. We're getting to more of a passive game, which, to be frank, is actually pretty exciting because I want to see what a later game looks like with these two.
Yeah,
especially because I feel like Maru now has some of the best late-game control, like map control, harass, Terran that we've seen. And it's very much his own style. I'm curious to see how that does against Classic here.
Yeah, I am as well. I definitely agree with you so much on that. Like, TY has always been the guy late game in every matchup, but Maru, like, seems to be on par with that, plus better early and mid in most ways.
It really does look like an improved version of what we always saw. You know, there's a fingerprint for how a lot of these Terrans harass if you look at enough of their games. Yes. Maru having a lot of success with big drops. TY winning a lot of little skirmishes, Warp Prism interceptions, well-placed Widow Mine sniping the observers. You get Beyond just controlling so well. So I'm curious, well, that is a bad start. Losing that many Marines for free.
3 medevacs, so look at this.
Yeah.
With a Raven as well. Definitely a lot he can get done with this. Okay, the army coming back up. Actually throws down a recall. But this is a great play by Maru. I love Terrans that are trying to force out recalls right now.
Yeah.
The cooldown on that is really long, so now that he's done that, he can do things like poke in the front here, and then if Classic ever gets out of position, bam, go right up into the main again.
Nicely done. Just coming in there and unpowering that. Kind of surprised that pylon was just placed there like that.
Yeah, that was an anti-Reaper one, but he never added a second pylon up there. He needed a tasteless pylon.
Yeah, you got to have one of those up there. But so far, oh man, pretty good reaction there from Classic trying to get that blink off, but I think he underestimated how many mines were there.
Yeah, he actually lost like 4 stalkers of those, so those mines actually doing okay.
But, you know, in fairness, there's been a lot of Terran infantry that have been lost here, so this is going to be taken out pretty easily. Actually, kind of a big loss there from Classic. In fact, he did not get the Raven.
If he had gotten the Raven, I would call that pretty much worth it, but definitely a good moment there for Maru. The Raven is actually... I actually like a lot of things about the Raven right now. I know some people are questioning about anti-armor missile and all that. I think it is an interesting spell when it's not spammed. But just interference matrix in general. I've liked some of the plays like Beyond yesterday, using it on 2 Colossi and picking them off. I thought that was like such a cool move.
By the way, I think Classic's actually going to try pushing in. He's got this one disruptor in the group. He's getting some Templars here as well. And I think he can actually, especially with the third base on this map, the one that Maru's taken, Protoss can kind of hold a position and just poke over and over. Is that a Templar in there?
Yeah, he's looking to feed back the Raven. Is exactly what he's trying to do here. The Raven is actually so dangerous. Can't quite get it.
He repaired the Raven, correct?
Yes, he did, but a feedback will kill it. It's full on mana right now, hasn't used his spells. The thing is, it's not even about killing, it's just about let's not get anti-armor missiles and let's not get interference on our units here.
Maru decides to push out, seeing the Classic sort of sheepishly had to walk away there. Maru's going to try to push in here. Now, this is going to be tricky because of the amount of possible splash damage that's available. Anti-armor missile is a possibility.
Ooh.
The disruptors are kind of isolated here, but if they get one or two good shots off, okay, that was nicely done, but he could have done a lot more. Of course, it's easier for us to see that than he can see, but...
Well, he's got to send something out, but that... I love the idea of the flank.
Yeah,
it didn't do as much as he was looking for.
So there's SCVs with this, so this is very specific timing. And what he's hoping to do is knock Protoss onto 2 bases because he can take out this one and the other. Classic has to try to come in here and defend. Now, the SCVs are not with the rest of the army. Probes are now being pulled over here.
Ooh, and awesome. He actually disables 2 of the Colossi during this battle, but Storm is done.
But he kept those Colossi back, and I think he could just try to push forward. Does he actually have enough here? I think with the Colossi coming forward, Terran might lose this fight, but they need to start hitting the actual clumps of Marines and Marauders.
He's about to have another launch here. Oh, he's actually starting to target down the Disruptor as well right before it can fire again. Well done there. And with that Archon and the Zealot Warpins, it looks like he'll just barely hold this.
Okay, this is really bad for Maru.
That was a great battle, though, on both sides, really. Like, Maru utilizing his spells and everything, getting that great concave, and Classic pulling back his splash for a moment. And wow, that was pretty sick. By the way, it's 2-2 against 1-1.
Yeah, very important to note. Now, I don't know if there's a lot of options for Maru, though. I think on paper, Terran loses this.
Yeah.
I mean, he could try to keep attacking in, but
ooh,
that's something.
That was a sick EMP,
no
doubt.
Done better than that, given the situation. However, it just seems like Protoss has so much overall, and Terran, 37 workers on 3 bases. Classic has a lot of different ways to try to hold off these attacks, and I think all he has to do is be patient and control wisely. And with storms like that, even if you're not killing all the units, you're bleeding off the medevac energy.
Yeah, look, this is so tough for Maru for all the reasons you said, and of course, they both kind of lost their armies. But when you're kind of refilling with gateway units against Bio, and you've got 2 more upgrades, that poor Bio player, man, it's very tough to fight against that.
Now, Protoss is still making workers with this, so Maru stayed at 37 the whole time. So while the battle's what we're watching, the number of workers is actually what's most impactful here. And it means that Maru is going to have a complete list of options as a player for how he wants to close this. And I think just the fact that this has been handled so well by Classic, this should just close out the game, especially with a storm like that there. He's basically lost position to the low ground. And there's no way Maru comes back from 2 bases. Not against Classic, at least. No. It's
just about game over here. Maru going to try one more time to erase this army, but he really can't.
Yep. And so we're going to have to go into game 2. GG. Classic takes game 1 in this best of 5.
All right. Very well done game by Classic, keeping that pressure on and all. Maru's push was not a bad one by any means, but there was enough size storm. He kept his Colossus alive.
What should be pointed out too is that in that big fight where Maru came down and started hitting the 3rd base, the SCVs were hitting the Nexus, and Classic came up from the side. With his probes too. So the SCVs weren't actually helping in the fight until a bulk of the infantry were already killed off.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point.
Now that being said, he could have still just stormed all those workers and they died anyways, but it wasn't the ideal way that those, or at least on Maru's side, that those infantry units were supposed to interact with the Protoss' army.
Yeah. I also want to add something else. Well, actually, I'll wait until the game starts because it looks like we are starting up Tace's Catalyst, our next map.
That's right. It's loading up now. Maru trying to do that timing in game 1 and failing. Classic looking like the complete picture Protoss. Let's go into game 2 in this best of 5. Maru versus Classic.
GSL SuperTournament Season 1, Round of 8, Match 1. Jin Green Wings, Maru. Classic.
Okay, so one thing that I detest more than almost anything else in TDP, as in I think it's really bad, is medium amounts of Vikings. Okay, here's the thing. If you're going to go Viking to counter Colossus, okay, that's fine. You can do that if you want. But make sure you have enough Vikings that you wreck the Colossus, okay? Now, he utilized a Raven, and it was pretty clear the entire time that the Raven was the anti-Colossus tech. Yet he still had, like, 6 Vikings or 7 Vikings.
You want enough that you knock the Colossi out of the equation. It's not like your army is supposed to be fighting, and the Vikings are firing, and the Colossi are firing.
Yeah,
and
no,
there's
exactly.
lasers everywhere. It's
exactly.
like, no. You go in there, you wipe out those key units, and then you pick the fight.
Exactly what I'm trying to say here, Tasteless. Thank you. And
you don't want your fights to look like the back of the StarCraft 2 box where there's stuff shooting. It's like, no, there's a very precise way you want to do this.
It's the perfect way to say it, that like it's not like you want your bio shooting and the Vikings shooting and the Colossi shooting. That's not it. If you're going to go Vikings to counter Colossi, kill the Colossi and then battle, right? Like you kind of like you can zone them out a little bit and like you have enough that the Protoss player doesn't even want to go near you, right? And then they're trying to like dance around and get Psystorm or something to counter the Vikings. But this weird medium amount didn't really do anything in that battle. I feel like that would have been better served as any other type of unit, considering he immediately with a spell disabled 2 of the Colossi, right? 1 Colossi, what's the sound of 1 Colossi clapping? If it falls in the forest, no one even hears it, okay? Who cares? If you spend more money on actual muscle in your army at that point, I think you're going to have a better fight.
I agree. I'm actually surprised Mara went for a timing in that game.
I see that a lot on Blackpink, and I'm not sure why it's specifically this map that everyone does 1-1 timings.
Yeah, I wish I had more to explain for why, but I'm actually confused by it. And I thought that Mara, it might be because taking bases for Terran in a long game on that map kind of sucks. Against Protoss, maybe that's it. It's
totally could be.
I mean, it might be as straightforward as that. I don't know for sure, but
I'm not sure either.
I actually thought that in that game Mara wasn't going to do that, but now that he's doing that too, I'm thinking, okay, maybe the Terrans really have come to a conclusion on that map about the way to play it. But it doesn't seem like the timings tend to work as much.
I rarely see it.
So I'm wondering if there's some other way that Terrans are supposed to approach that as well, you know?
Yeah. Well, this game, definitely not looking like the beginning of the last one. Does get a few Adepts out here. But going into Oracle play, of course, the Reaper did see that. So, shouldn't really see too much damage from the Oracle. We'll see what he does with the Oracle, though. You know, Classic is someone who wastes no Oracles, basically. Oh, wow. Okay. I guess maybe he's trying to draw units here so his Oracle can get
I did see where the Widow Mine was there, too. So that's a little bit of intel. Seemed like that Colossus kind of gave up there, didn't he?
The Cyclone?
Cyclone, excuse me, Cyclone. It's like, yeah, stay out.
Get out of here.
You joik. I said stay out, Oracle. So, Classic takes a third base, concluding that Terran is most likely going to be in a defensive posture, but these Marines are actually starting to edge out, so this actually could be dangerous. Now, we had a shot of it a second ago, but Classic is banking Oracles. And this is something, I remember people were sort of doing this like right when the Oracle came out, and then it stopped, and now it's become, and then there was a period where it became crazy trendy.
Oh, yeah, that
and then
style,
that was like a week and a half or something in StarCraft 2. But it's smart because if they don't account for the high number of Oracles, because generally speaking, people they show this unit because they know they can do damage with it, you can suddenly blindside them. They'll be moving out and they'll think, okay, he's probably got this many Stalkers and these other, and then bam, laser beams.
laser
beams and you're gone, bro.
Well, specifically with a build like this, it's really nice, right? Like you can take a fast third if you open Stargate and you see this type of play out of your opponent. 3 Oracles will be one-shotting Marines, and they do a lot for you, obviously, right? Like we see them detect there. Ooh, that was really sloppy.
Okay, here we go. Oracle's coming in now.
I'm super surprised he's doing this attack. Unbelievably surprised.
Yeah. In fact, I feel like he even picked up the wrong units there with the Phoenix. Everything did not go according to plan. Phoenix is out, and we have a Protoss with naked defense on 3 bases, and Maru has I would say, especially when Stim's done all the tools necessary to march across the map and maybe even close this one out.
Yeah. Yeah, like that, I was just about to kind of explain, because it's a time-tested strategy to go for, it used to be 2 oracles, you go 3 a lot of the time now for the one-shotting.
Yeah.
But between stasis wards plus just the firepower of oracles, you can take your quick 3 bases and then just like add some gates, and most of the time people go blink with that and just, you know, have a few force fields and stuff and just kind of be able to hold off whatever Terran was coming with. But that attack was weird, and it didn't do what it needed to do, and this army's scary. He's not done Glaives or +1. He doesn't have a single stasis ward here.
There's as many Widow Mines as there are sentries here.
Yeah.
I think the Classic, well, I think he's kind of choked out on this one. This should actually be the end of the game here, especially because he's still warping in. He's going to deny that, so no warp-ins there.
Yeah, that was
GG.
That was
okay.
a weird one.
It's 1-1.
That was just
short game.
The attack from Classic, like if you're going to go Glaives and +1, that attack, it wasn't really needed. Maybe if he doesn't get hit by that Widow Mine, maybe this attack in his practice has just like killed the army of his opponent, but that doesn't even make a lot of sense to me, because it's like, well, you're taking 3 bases plus you tech, and you think you can also attack your opponent. Just something about that rings false to me. You're doing too many things at once. You want to do 1 more thing than your opponent, not 2 more things. And there he was doing like 2 more things or 3 more things than his opponent.
And, you know, it seems like it would have maybe done better if it had happened right in the middle of the map, but it didn't. It was like outside the Terran's base. I don't know. That was just weird.
Widow
It was
Mine
just
shot
weird
to a stalker and stuff. And he even like he even tagged that, so it was like kind
maybe
of
he
poor
wants
execution.
to get right up there and hit him right before Stim's done, because they're going to start moving out for the timing. Because if you look at the bar, the Stim was at like 80% completion. Maybe he wants to come out there and just kill everything because it's actually a super weak combo against that. But no, that went horribly. And that cost Classic that game, and I thought Classic pretty elegantly won game 1.
Yeah.
And really, with all due respect to Maru, that was Classic losing game 2.
Yeah, that was a bungle.
More than a win from Maru.
GSL SuperTournament.
It wasn't like Maru was great to
Season
sit
1.
there with his units and kill
Round
that
of
army.
8.
Yeah.
Match 1. Jin Air Green Wings, Maru.
He's going to be pretty darn happy about picking up that win.
Classic.
See a bit better play. That was I'm just going to chalk that one up to a little bit sloppy. Maybe normally he shaves a bunch of units off, then goes home or something like that.
Yeah, I believe it really was involving interrupting the few specific upgrades.
Especially if you're going for like...
Well, you know, a lot of Protosses stay back. They're kind of monitoring for when that attack is going to come.
Yeah.
And try to hold it up, especially when you're on 3 bases. And I think it's like playing around the meta of like what Protosses do on 3 bases, because you know that Terran will most likely on 2 bases try to come out and start trying to do damage.
Yeah.
Especially on that map, but I don't know, you know, especially in some of the TVP battles, things actually happen so fast that a few misclicks and it's like, oh, okay, that was, I lost it. Did not control that correctly. So we had the probe come out pretty quickly already now in Maru's base.
Gonna run away before that Reaper has a chance to get out of there. Go hide somewhere on the map, no doubt. We'll see what tech Classic wants to go for there. Coming up. That game 1 build was pretty interesting, but I think Stargate is, you know, more of a standard build that Classic is going to feel good with and do well with. Oh, is he going to Chrono Warp Gate as well? Doesn't look like it. Does start the Warp Gate right away, though, and that
So
generally tells you that Stargate is less likely.
So we have the probe hidden in this little nook in the center right, the very east corner of the map. We'll see if he actually starts to try to hide any pylons there, or if he just wants to use that to try to poke in later on. Now the Adept chasing out that last Reaper. I mean, so far everything looks pretty normal for a PvT.
And And he saw that a Twilight is on the way, so that's definitely very good intel. But just because you're making a Twilight, like if your opponent scouts it, you don't have to be aggressive with this still. It looks like he probably will because he's getting glaives. That's generally not going to be defensive on 2 base.
This is kind of the funny mind game as well of, okay, so if you have 2 good players and one scouts, the other one's tech, sometimes the obvious choice is to, you know, not overuse that tech because it's predictable. But then when you get to the very, 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 very best players, well, because that's counterintuitive, why don't you just go ahead and do it anyways, you know? Ooh! That was...
They were both really on top of that.
Really good movement here by Classic. Oh my God.
Man.
You shouldn't have chased him.
That's a sick find right there. Yeah, that's a good point.
You know, it's one of those weird time travel
Yeah.
things. It's like, what is it, the butterfly effect? You step on the butterfly and then that causes a hurricane later on because the wind patterns. It's almost like maybe you should have let him try to get in a little bit further because you inadvertently did end up chasing that Reaper all the way back there.
And he just can't kill that Reaper. Oh my God, what a slippery Reaper. Third base just going up. He's completely canceled this. Of course, Maru still has to be a little bit careful making that bunker. Is he going to go? Okay, he's getting a Raven right off the back here.
You know, these pros have gotten so good at just canceling at that last second, Artosis. Remember when the Adept just came out and some people kind of messed up? They try to do it last second and then it just shade in and die.
It's kind of funny, too, because I'm like, how much of your APM, or not APM, how much of your attention are you spending on canceling this at the very last second?
Okay, so this is the Mission Impossible Reaper, okay? We could make a trilogy movie series about how much this Reaper's actually done. This is the Jason Bourne of Reapers. He has basically seen everything. Ooh, you're so good.
Handsome move.
That was just...
Decent shade coming up. Closes that, though. Oh, does he actually do this?
Whoa,
Wow.
He's in range, too?
Okay, well.
Okay. Does this work? I don't
think so.
It's not good when they're spread apart like that. So, Classic.
4 SCVs. You got a few Marines in there. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know, guys.
Yeah, I didn't care for that too much, but...
Kind of weird. Okay. There are 2 forages coming down. There's a Warp Prism as well. Stim is pretty far away, so Terran should be, I guess, forced to stay at home, stuck back at home in a defensive position, where Protoss is going to start utilizing this third base and trying to, get all the necessary tools to bring this into a macro game where Protoss has longevity and sustainability.
Prism flying across the map.
Let's see if those have been more gateways and not just forges. I would think that maybe he's going to do something more dramatic, but it seems like this is actually a pretty modest amount of gates.
Yeah.
Oh, and now we get the age-old fight of just sentries versus a landed Viking. One of my favorite things to have in the game.
Yeah.
And in case you're wondering how that looks, these Viking will get away.
Yeah, not just that, but he gets 3 probes.
Yeah.
Pretty decent usage of that Viking.
Yeah, that's...
Okay, well, Maru just continuing to mass up. Sitting on 2 bases here, getting a lot of Widow Mines mixed in. Quite a few gateways on the way. And I mean, it looks like he's just going to be on like Adept Blink. Right? And I guess if 1-1 finishes, it's not too bad, but his 1-1's very late. I think Maru hits 100% before that.
It's basically Tier 1 unit comp with a much delayed Robotech here. So I think the first Immortal is actually not out yet. It's still being made. Now, Protoss can try to rely on a pin technique of using the War Prism to draw the Terran back at home, but I think Maru actually saw that and does not care.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how much force fields can help here. I think that there's a lot of sentries, but not as much to do damage behind that.
He's got a micro almost perfectly coming up here. Actually warping in some more units into this main base. 2 mines come up in Burrow. Oh my God, they're just out of range.
I thought they were going to hit that War Prism for sure,
I was
but
wondering about
not.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, what can you pick off? Hey!
Well, hey, the mines were actually what he needed to get. I didn't think that was going to happen, but wow.
in this type of battle, those mines are super deadly against
the
this
mines
type
are what
of army.
wreck the Adepts and everything else. So maybe Classic actually has a fighting chance still.
Yeah, he's picked off every mine. There's been like no mine hits. And, well, an anti-armor missile comes down, but you just back up.
Yeah, it was a little bit late, too, on that anti-armor missile.
Yeah. That was a great hold. Just the fact that he got, like, every mine before anything burrowed was so important and so clutch here. It's got 1-1 and everything as well. Double drop here up into the main base.
So, this is getting interesting because, unpowering all of that. Nice blink dodge coming forward. Classic basically needs to just clean up this attack, ideally take out the Medivacs, and then Classic should win the game because the second base is not, or third base, excuse me, is not making. The second base is under attack. Maru is literally in half the worker count of his opponent.
Yeah, Classic has really pulled this game together now. It was looking a little bit nerve-wracking.
These games are not looking the way I thought they were. I mean, this isn't like, this is not a diving contest. I'm not here to judge. I mean, my score on this is not going to matter. But I actually did not expect the games to look the way they were. It seems like Maru's playing a more explosive but shorter game each time around.
I felt like he was doing it, like that was not a bad attack timing he was going for. But maybe he needed to rotate around, threaten dropping in the base, try to make the army split a bit. But it felt like a good time where he moved out. It's just all the mines got picked off.
Thing is now Terra just gets bludgeoned by the Protoss.
Yeah.
He just walks in there.
And if he doesn't kill him now, I mean, 2-2's on the way, so eventually he will. Maru does not really have a good comeback strategy at this point.
Yeah.
Oh.
And, I mean, this is just what he does. He just blobs a bunch of adepts inside the natural. And I think Maru's going to try to come around here for a base trade. And fortunately, those just barely warp in. GG, Classic takes Game 3, giving him a 2-1 lead. Again, it's a best of 5, so it's not over yet. But I have to say, overall on this, not just with the results as far as wins and losses, but I'd say just play style, Classic is looking better.
Yeah, he's looking really good. Even with his stuff getting scouted, like the Twilight got scouted, and he still tried to go for a proxy, and that got scouted, so he canceled into a third base, tried some Prism harass, you know, and at the end of the day, just some solid micro and, force fielding those mines out. I guess, that was enough to get him into a good spot.
All right, don't worry, guys. This is esports. We're never going to let that dubstep music go away.
It goes well with esports.
It does. It does. So this is Game 4. It's going to be on Neon Violet Square. Maru is having a hard time in anything that's supposed to look like a typical PvT. He's not able to win. Classic had kind of a flub game in Game 2. So I think we're going to see more passive play here from Classic. Move like water, and you'll be able to take out Maru if you're of the caliber of Classic. Anyways, let's game number 4.
GSL SuperTournament, Season 1, Round of 8, Match 1. Jin Air Green Wings, Maru.
Doesn't it feel like Terran's always in the top left on this map?
Feels like it, yeah.
Classic.
So you're thinking defensive play from Classic overall?
Yeah, well, there's nothing that I've seen from Maru so far, at least in this series, that I think would compel Classic to try to end it right away. It's ultimately up to him, but if you just look at the way these games are going, I think the timing attack in Game 1 with the SCVs was very telling, although we do see that a lot on that map.
Yeah.
I think the fact that Game 3, Classic, he didn't do an insane amount of damage when he had the Warp Prism come in. He just sort of handled everything fine.
Yeah.
And that's actually the scariest part about Game 3, if you're Maru, is that there wasn't any kind of brilliant play. There wasn't, the warp in that really threw him off or Widow Mines. It just never connected. It was just kind of handled really well by Classic. Overall,
Well, he is very good on the defense when he needs to be. I personally, for me, I really like his Stargate openings more than his other ones. Although, obviously, Stargate opening not working for him out too much in Game 2. See where he goes with this. His 7x score going to be finishing shortly. It's a very long map, this one. I feel like it's a very good map for Colossus-based play, too.
it's also worth pointing out that there is this little expansion in the back.
Yes.
It's not mineral rich, but you can get your gases there. You kind of get it for free, but we see a lot of players, it's almost like they keep it in a savings account, like a holding account or something.
Yeah.
They'll expand outwardly so that they can get that back expansion later on.
Well, that back expand itself is... Like, it allows you to play the map differently, right? Because you can be more greedy in a lot of ways and just take that and be like, hey, I still kind of have 3 bases.
Right.
I have 3 bases worth of gas at least.
It's also, if you're really getting pressure to contain, you can kind of take that. So this is another addition we have in maps, or at least this map, that kind of allow for some cooler plays. For those of you guys that haven't played a lot of StarCraft and are wondering why on earth would there be an eBay there, that makes the probes so that they can't mine in a straight, neat line like that.
He just wanted his upgrades really bad.
He wanted to make upgrade right in his face. So that does add up when you have workers mining at the start, and the amount of money that Terran loses when you cancel that is it's totally worth it for the Terran to do.
Yeah,
I know a lot of you guys already know that, but we do end up with new people that watch this they see that eBay go down, guys. The new people that are watching. And they go, I don't understand this game, and they close it off because we don't mention it. So it's worth bringing up from time.
That's
to time.
how we lose most StarCraft.
That's how we lose a lot of our viewers here. They're like, I don't know.
Ooh, these Hellions.
Sneaky Hellions coming in.
Oh man,
nothing to defend.
Luckily, the Oracle actually gets back here very, very quickly.
You see that one probe that just moved in the path so that the Hellions couldn't completely fire in a straight line?
I actually did not.
Yeah, he kind of moved up to the side so that if the Hellions moved down and to the left just slightly, they would have been able to hit all the probes. He just body blocked with one. It was very subtle, but it was really cool.
That's cool. Only one SCV killed over on this side, but at least he's costing him some of the mining time here as well. Looks like some mines coming out, trying to catch anything that comes in or leaves.
Yeah, Maru's trying to maybe get some free kills on these Adepts, but for the time being, Classic is actually really being a nuisance. Now, because the Widow Mines are all over there, I think the main is somewhat exposed. So he can actually try to shave off these SCVs over here.
Ooh, almost awesome micro, but instead he takes a ton of turret hits. But it was super close to awesome. Yeah.
His command center's almost at half health.
I know. You ever seen 3 Adepts kill a command center without glaives? I haven't.
He's actually just barely staying out of range. Okay, these Adepts, man, this is sort of... Classic is just kind of doing everything really, really well, and this is just several little victories this whole series. Like, Maru needs to get this base up and running. He's losing too many SCVs.
Yeah.
I think all these Adepts are going to get out.
The amount that these 3 Adepts are wrecking, you can't even shade these out. You got to keep fighting, man. 3 Adepts, you're just killing everything. 7 SCVs, what? Oh.
Ouch. Okay.
The worst thing that could have happened right there.
Unexpected moment. Those were actually for the Adepts, but I guess Classic miscalculated that. Didn't think there would be a Widow Mine there. Honestly, it was a pretty unpredictable location.
He misplaced his Nexus, Tasteless.
Wait.
Tell me what you think about misplaced
Oh, no,
Nexuses.
this really screws with my OCD.
I
Seeing
know
the
it
Nexus
does.
placed like that with the...
You guys have never seen Tasteless see a misplaced Nexus.
I can't believe you did that because they even have the markers on the map.
You could not make it easier to make that Nexus where it needs to go. You can tell that he just flipped back to make it real fast while he was microing.
Are we going to get another shot of it on camera?
Well, eventually we will.
It's going to make my skin crawl.
That's brutal, by the way. You need more than your 16 probes to get that. In fact, for perfect saturation, aren't you?
Oh, God, look at it.
You're going to need 8 more probes on there for perfect saturation.
No, this is horrible. This is just awful. Okay,
Are we
he lost
joking?
a second
What?
Oracle. What happened to Classic in this game?
He misplaced his Nexus and then flew Oracles into mines. Very painful. You don't have to have the Oracle
was losing
still.
this game and got his Classic voodoo doll out.
Yeah. The thing is, Classic is still okay. Like, things went wrong. His economy's not going to be that good.
Maybe Maru will come in there and destroy that misplaced Nexus, and Classic
That would be really helpful.
and then win the game. That would be
Yeah.
I would be down for that.
As long as he kills the army and we just happen to end up in such a way that it would have been even, but it was actually better for Classic over time because now he gets his Nexus in the right spot. It's a great idea.
Okay, very Maru-like. He picks up after knowing he's been spotted. He's going to try to go into the main here. Now, Classic trying to keep his opponent busy is warping in several more Adepts over here. And beginning to take out many more SCVs. 13 already killed off. A nice denial here on the poorly placed third base. Meanwhile, in the main, where the Nexuses are placed correctly, a lot of probes are being killed.
Yeah, quite a few indeed. In fact, he's catching up to the damage the Adepts have been dealing over on his base. Oh my god. Stalkers being targeted down as they warp in. Marines running back now as well. Luckily, he does have a couple more warp-ins ready for some Stalkers here. With that shield battery, we'll be able to hold this off. Huge amount of probes dying, though. And still Adepts at work in his base. They want to finish off that command center, Tasteless.
Wow, he's still got these medevacs here doing damage. In fact, I think he can try to drop down here and just try to hold this weird pack expansion area. Now, Maru has 20 workers overall to the 35 of Classic, so both these guys are hurting from the harass that they've taken, but 20 is very low, even when Terran has medevacs, or not medevacs, that's what it's on screen, the mules.
Yeah. 20's pretty bad.
Now, that being said, 36 workers and a misplaced Nexus. I think you want to have the least amount of probes over at that Nexus, Artosis. That my caster calculus is thrown off by a poorly placed Nexus. I'm not
quite
sure.
3 base economy.
Yeah, it's like 2 bases and an 8th or something.
Well, if you have 16 probes there, right? It's going to be better than 2/3 economy. Like, it matters how far away you are, but it's not a perfect.
Now, the fact that he's now dropping this SCV count even lower is very scary, because you're getting to the point where it's exponentially bad for Terran.
Oh yeah.
Uh-oh.
You think this Stalker will stop that drop, though?
I don't know. Let's find out. I try not to predict too much in these games. Well, he just needs to stop this immediately. Now, even though this is quite a scary attack, no probes are really being killed. No probes are harmed in the making of this drop.
Yeah.
GG. Classic wins.
3-1?
That's it, 3-1.
Okay.
In case you're confused by the end of that, I mean, really, Maru's economy was in such shambles. Classic was not going to die to those drops.
Yeah.
And that does it for our first best of 5.
Yeah, lots of glaives coming out at Classic here today. Definitely a little bit of messiness, but that definitely can happen as well when you have a player like Maru in the game. I don't know. Nothing else to really say.
Not much to remark on. I thought the games are going to be a little bit longer. Some of them got quite scrappy. It does seem like Classic just has, I think, an overall better grasp of that matchup. And not really anything too fancy, actually, from the win games from Classic. He knows how to defend. He knows to attack in when the Terran is leaving, whether that's with a Warp Prism, drop it in the main, or he just shades into where the workers are. If you were to watch that game and not watch the worker count or the supplies, it might be confusing to even tell who won. But really, losing that many workers is unforgivable. Maru's out. Classic moves on. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, our next best of 5 here in the GSL Super Tournament.